John Lyons was strolling along Somerton Beach, which is south of Adelaide, Australia, at around 7 p.m. on November 30th, 1948. There was a well-dressed man leaning against a retaining wall beside the water. The man was also spotted by a couple nearby. They couldn't understand why he seemed to be sleeping on the beach, even though he was dressed professionally. The pair thought he had fainted after swimming because of the insects all over his face. Lyons observed the man in the same position the following morning, with a half-extinguished cigarette perched on his collar. He appeared to have fallen asleep. Lyons made touch with the police. The man had passed away. This is where the strange Somerton Man case starts. Here at Whispers in the Dark, welcome. Investigators initially believed there was nothing suspicious because the man appeared to have passed quite peacefully. But the subsequent autopsy further added complexity to the issue. Dr. John Barclay Bennett, the medical examiner, found blood in the man's stomach and an enlarged spleen, which led him to suspect poisoning. However, no poisoning symptoms were discovered. Furthermore, the man's last meal, a half-digested croissant, contained no contaminants. Authorities speculated that a slow-acting poison might be entering his body because of his strange behaviors, which included lifting his arm, spittle on his lips, and attempting to light a cigarette. Professor Cedric Hicks alerted Thomas Cleland, the coroner, to some fast-acting toxins that dissolve entirely in the bloodstream. Attempting to identify the man was a perplexing undertaking. He had no money, no wallet, and no identification cards. All clothing labels had been removed on purpose. In his pockets were 2 train tickets, one to Adelaide and one to Somerton, a pack of Army Club cigarettes, albeit a different brand, matches, 2 combs, and chewing gum. The orange thread he used to fix his pants was a crucial clue that led to the United States. His fingerprints were unsuccessfully distributed both domestically and internationally. People flocked to the morgue in an attempt to identify the mystery man, but nobody was able to do so. For bags or other things, police checked public restrooms and hotels in the area. Confusion was eventually exacerbated by a luggage that was left in the cloakroom of the Adelaide train station on November 30th. The luggage's labels had been taken off, and its contents were devoid of any identifying information, just as the man's clothing. 2 objects bearing the names T. Keene and Keene led to nothing. Investigators suspected they were intentional fabrications. There was nothing in the immigration files. We did not yet know the man's roots. Then, shortly before his funeral, the sole solid proof was discovered, a strange single piece of paper secreted in a secret pocket of his pants. They printed the words Tamám Shud on it. During World War II, Omar Khayyam's Rubaiyat gained popularity in Australia. The phrase Tamám Shud came from that novel. Originally written in Persian, the phrase means ended or finished. It was a beautiful farewell, perhaps the final words of a man who wanted to stay anonymous. The public was shown the slip of paper. Then a man stepped forward in June 1949. He stated that on November 30th, 1948, close to the scene of the body's discovery, the book had been thrown into the backseat of his vehicle. He immediately threw the book in the glove compartment since he believed it to be his brother-in-law's. A torn-out page from the book matched the fragment discovered in the man's pocket exactly. Police found an unlisted phone number and an odd scrambled code written in pencil on the back page under ultraviolet light. The phone number belonged to Joe, Justin Thompson, a 27-year-old nurse who lived a few hundred yards from Somerton Beach. She admitted that she had formerly held a copy of the Rubaiyat, which she said she had given to a friend named Alfred Boxall. But when the police discovered Boxall, he had his copy with him, unharmed. Investigators believed Thompson had more information than she revealed. When a plaster bust of the Somerton Man was exhibited to her, her reaction was clearly distressed, but she insisted that she didn't know him. The strange efforts to conceal this man's identity raised one interesting possibility: espionage. The labels that were eliminated, the false names, and the secret code all backed this notion. The Somerton Man was suspected of being a spy due to the book, the code, and the Somerton Man's close vicinity to the Radium Hill uranium mine and the Woomera test range, both of which are of interest to Russian intelligence. Although she never gave an explanation for how she learned the language, Thompson's daughter subsequently disclosed in a 60 Minutes interview that her mother used to speak Russian on the phone. She also instructed Russian immigrants in English. According to her daughter, her mother acknowledged that she knew who the Somerton Man was, but she would never say who he was. In 2007, electrical engineering professor Derek Abbott happened to read about the case in a magazine when he was working at a laundromat. He thought it may be a fun challenge to work through with students, but he soon found himself lost in it. For years, he convinced the Australian authorities to exhume the body. On the basis that he had no family ties to the deceased, his request was repeatedly denied. His plea was ultimately granted in May 2021. As part of South Australia's effort to resolve historical, unidentified remains, Operation Persevere and Persist, the Somerton Man's body was excavated. Forensic science, SA's forensic specialists, began their investigation in Adelaide. Abbott partnered with American genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick, co-founder of the DNA Doe Project, as they awaited official results. They examined DNA taken from hair strands inserted into the man's plaster bust, and they eventually discovered a match after creating a family tree with more than 4,000 members. Authorities verified in July 2022 that the Somerton Man was Carl Charles Webb, who was born in Melbourne in 1905. Webb was an instrument builder and electrical engineer. There was no record of his death. His father, Richard August Webb, had left Hamburg, therefore his family had German ancestry. Out of 6 siblings, Carl was the youngest. Thomas Gerald Keane was the spouse of his oldest sister, Frida Grace Webb. In the same year that Carl's brother Roy died, their son John Keane also lost his life in World War II. American coins and a map of Chicago were among John Keane's belongings, indicating that he had previously resided in the United States. This could help to explain why a large number of Carl Webb's possessions, including clothing, threads, and personal objects, were of American origin. That even explained why some of the items in the luggage had the name Keane on them. They might have been passed down through the generations. Although the Somerton Man's identity has been established, his death and the peculiar circumstances surrounding it are still unknown. Some were hoping for a more dramatic response: a betrayed lover, an assassin, or a Soviet agent. What comes to your mind with all these unknowns? What do you think the facts were? Let's try to solve this mystery together. Who knows if we can reach a conclusion? Perhaps, though, that is the point. Carl Webb might have been a spy. Perhaps he wasn't. Perhaps we want to keep the mystery alive. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more interesting stories. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, continue uncovering the hidden secrets of stories with Whispers in the Dark.